After 3 years of division and litigation, it appears the PGA Tour will merge with LIV Golf, which means this is the most historic moment for professional golf during my lifetime. Commissioner Jay Monahan informed the public that the PGA Tour plans to lead the formation of a new commercial golf entity through a framework agreement. The Public Investment Fund, that's PIF, which is the sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia and owner of LIV Golf, will contribute its golf-related commercial business and rights along with a significant financial investment for which they will receive a minority stake in a collectively held for-profit LLC. Now, this new entity, which has yet to be named, will also include the commercial businesses and rights of the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, essentially the European Golf Tour. There's much we don't know right now, but here are a few points of clarification. The PGA Tour will remain in place as a 501c6 tax-exempt organization, so nonprofit. Executives of both the PGA Tour and PIF will join to form the new board of directors, which will oversee all of this new entity's golf-related operations. This announcement brings about an end to all pending litigation between the parties, so LIV's antitrust lawsuit against the PGA should essentially be settled here, and the PGA Tour will work cooperatively to establish a fair process for any players who desire to reapply for the PGA Tour. Two questions at the top of an ever-growing list are, will Greg Norman be involved? I've been told he was informed of the deal, but not involved in its development. Second, what say will the tour players have as this develops? Many of them found out about this merger at the same time as the public did, and some have already been quoted saying they are shocked and confused. Now, Jay Monahan did end his statement by admitting there is much work to do to get us from a framework agreement to a definitive agreement, which will require PGA Tour policy board approval. It will be fascinating to see how this plays out. Many tour players turned down guaranteed money from LIV Golf and stood in solidarity with the PGA Tour.
You guys think you're fresh?
Yeah.
You're not fresh.
Oh.
Figuring out what's for dinner is not at the top of anyone's summer activity wish list. So our friends at HelloFresh, the freshest, deliver mouth-watering, chef-crafted recipes and the freshest ingredients to your door so you can spend your summer doing, well, whatever you guys want. And if you didn't know, today's Taco Tuesday, and everybody needs to get excited about it. If you're not, give me your passport. And HelloFresh has an amazing recipe for their one-pan. This sounds phenomenal. Listen to this. This, even outside the ad read, they have an amazing recipe for their one-pan Santa Fe pork tacos with Monterey Jack and cilantro lime slaw. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to read this slowly, all right, because it's early, but daddy hungry. One-pan Santa Fe pork tacos with Monterey Jack and cilantro lime slaw. Sounds like a great situation. Now, look, these tacos are just one of 40 recipes to choose from weekly. Can you stop coughing during the ad read? Thanks.
Sorry, bud.
With the options to please even the pickiest eaters. You'll always find meals everyone at the table will enjoy. The HelloFresh Market has new snacks, meals, and more to add to your weekly order. With so much variety, there are options for everyone and every lifestyle. Read my wife, she's pescatarian. Does that mean she can read minds? Yes, but she also loves HelloFresh. All right, so go to HelloFresh.com. Do this now, unless you're driving, and then pull over. Go to HelloFresh.com/booster16. That's HelloFresh.com/booster16. That's the number 16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Talk about solving world hunger. That's right. 16 free meals at HelloFresh.com/booster16. Make sure to use that promo code at checkout. HelloFresh.com/booster16. And we want a picture of your food when it's done. Make sure you send on that on social media. Use that promo code booster16. I'm going to read this one time slowly in an old Southern voice. One pan Santa Fe pork tacos with Monterey Jack and cilantro lime slaw. And just coat yourself in deliciousness. David killed it on the monologue right there. Look, here's the thing. It's big news, some of the biggest news in golf, like you said, in our lifetime. And we've talked about it. Me and you have kind of disagreed a little bit with the LIV Tour and versus the PGA. But we always knew there would be something that happened with both of these entities, even with the lawsuit. Now, my argument was I thought it was good for golf that the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour hated each other because it created that villain arc, right? It kind of, you need villains in the sports. And you heard the PGA talking about Saudi Arabia money, which they're now just accepting. I guess it's okay now. But I thought, we saw Brooks Koepka. We saw LIV Tour versus PGA Tour at the end and all the emotion that went with that, and Phil, and then you had Greg Norman and Jay Monahan. It really created kind of these two rival entities, which I thought was going to elevate golf. Well, now you've come together. You can't push that rivalry as much. You can't kind of use that. And now, while there still be somewhat of a villain flavor to guys who went to the LIV Tour, if you didn't take that LIV money now, you're left holding the bag. You're working with Saudi Arabia anyway, Tiger.
None of this makes any sense to me, and we're going to find out a lot more information over the coming 48 hours as Jay Monahan actually sits down with some of these players, Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth and Morikawa, guys who stood by the tour. A lot of them found out about this at the same time that we did, and like you said, essentially the PGA Tour has said for 3 years, they've tried to guilt trip a lot of these players who left to go take Saudi Arabia-backed money, and now they're forming an entirely new for-profit entity. With this PIF, the Saudi-backed money. So that part I don't really understand. There's a lot more that we don't know right now that we do know. I'm not convinced that this is good for the game of golf long term, but it could be, and I'm hopeful that it will be. I'm also not convinced that this is good for America long term. Again, I'm willing to get on board with anything that has the best golfers in the world competing against each other, but we already had that. So why did that end? Why did some players go and join LIV? Because of the money. This was really just a roundabout way of Saudi Arabia getting an equity stake in American golf. Yeah. Imagine if they reached out and said, hey, PGA Tour, we'd like to buy like a 35% minority stake in PGA Tour. They would get laughed at, right? So they said, okay, well, we'll just form a different golf league that
throw all type of money
wears shorts and is 3 days a week and just does some silly stuff. And then we're going to get guaranteed money for these players who say yes to it. And now you have to merge with us through some sort of, I guess, hostile takeover. Like it's like a hostile takeover system.
Well, and it gives legitimacy to what LIV was doing, all the stuff the PGA Tour was saying. But it goes to prove. And listen. A lot of business has no morality. We got to call it spade a spade. We see it in every industry there is. You see it in sports. You see it in fossil fuels. You see it in food. They're gonna try and make as much money as they can while using your morality against you. So no longer can the PGA Tour get on any sort of moral high horse about anything, because at the end of the day, you made a deal with the devil, as you put it. And we knew this was going to end some way. I just didn't see it ending this quickly and ending like this as kind of a come together. So it's one of the biggest stories in sports. Obviously, me and you were shocked when we read it and it came out. So it's going to be interesting to continue to follow this and see the framework of this down the road, because if you're a professional golfer, now there's nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. So if you're Morikawa, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
It's the conglomerate.
Yeah, you can go play the Hooters Tour? You can go play back in college? There's nowhere else to go. So really, it's like if Walmart and Kmart just came together. Walmart being the biggest entity, Kmart being a big entity but not as big. It's like they just came together to form one big, I don't know, monopoly, but that's what we had before. What I'm interested to see, though, David, is the rules for the players. Will there be any sort of budge on the PGA Tour? And I know they've already changed some rules, but how much will the players now use the leverage that they have to be able to get to a closer place where they feel taken care of as employees? So that's what I'm very interested to see. But we also got a big interview coming up right after this too. YouTube! Hey, hopefully I didn't scare you, or maybe I did. Subscribe, and if you don't know, we do a live weekly sports show from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. That's 6:30 to 8 a.m. Central. Come check us out. We do live calls Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have a live chat that is very, very active, and we answer your questions and your comments. So if you want sports back in your life again because you're tired of the woke BS, come join us at Crandon Company, where we talk sports